Aiden Pierce, to this day, is not only probably one of my favourite Ubisoft protagonists, but also probably one of my favourite gaming protagonists. And what makes Aiden such a good protagonist is the incredible, emotional, and overall amazing writing put into Aiden's character. However, before I continue with this video essay, I would just like to say thank you so much for all clicking on this video, and thank you so much for the support I got on the last video. However, 94% of you watching this video are unsubscribed, so if you do like this type of content, if you do like this video, make sure you leave a like and make sure to subscribe. Enjoy the video, guys. Watch Dogs 1 easily sits in my top 20 favourite games of all time, but I think what most helps Watch Dogs 1 is its incredible protagonist, Aiden Pearce, who is not only different to many other protagonists I have seen, but extremely different to any other Ubisoft protagonist I have ever seen. Watch Dogs 1 is completely and utterly different to Watch Dogs 2 and 3. And I think without a doubt one of the most contributing actions for this is the character of Aiden Pearce. In my opinion, Aiden Pearce's character is one of the best written in the whole of gaming, and he is probably the best written out of all of Ubisoft's main characters. Unlike Ezio from Assassin's Creed, Jason Brody from Far Cry 3, and AJ from Far Cry 4, and even Marcus from Watch Dogs 2, Aiden actually has something that all of those characters do not. Where those characters shine in their overall likeableness, charismatic nature, and just overall funniness, Aiden shines in the complete and utter opposite ways. He's dark, he's depressed, he's sad, he's desperate, he's spiteful, and he's angry. I mean, take a look at these Ubisoft characters, these main characters, and tell me here who really stands out. Who really has a different colour, look, has a different persona, and overall just has a completely different feel to them. It's Aiden. Even other more realistic characters like Jason Brody, who have that dark nature and are going for a more deeper character dive, don't have the realism and grounded depression that Aiden's character has. Jason Brody is still Jason Brody. He's still a likable, funny, hilarious character, even with his psychosis problems. I'm not saying Aiden is the greatest fucking character of all time because he doesn't crack a joke. In fact, there are many moments in Watch Dogs 1 where Aiden is charismatic and funny.
I'm not one of them. Why should I trust you? Because I could shoot you and take it. Oh, that ain't an answer, man.
And I'm not having a go at other Ubisoft characters for not being as grounded and realistic as Aiden is. I'm simply pointing out how Aiden's character, in my opinion, is leaps and bounds ahead of these other ones. And he's leaps and bounds ahead of these other ones because of his dark, depressing, and grounded realistic character type. Aiden Pearce at his core is a broken man, and the whole first part of Watch Dogs' story is to show us, the player, this. Watch Dogs 1 starts off with a failed heist job with our protagonist Aiden Pearce being joined by a friend slash associate of his named Damien. The two of them were attempting to hack into a place called the Molette. However, things went wrong and the two had to disband. This event takes place only 11 months before Watch Dogs 1's main canon line story. I think it's very fitting that we only really know 11 months before the main story amount of background information on Aiden Pearce and his character. I mean, it fits the story well because Aiden is a hacker, and he has been for a while, so why would he leave this snail trail behind him of crimes or things he have done? We shouldn't know that. There are small nuggets of information, however, scattered through Watch Dogs 1 that tells us little and little more about Aiden Pearce and his character. We know that after the Molette job, someone named Maurice was signed on to kill Aiden or anyone in his family, in which a horrific and terrible event would occur. This hired gun would crash into Aiden's car, and unfortunately, Aiden would have his niece with him on this day. His niece, Lena, would not survive this crash and would die in a coma shortly after the event. This almost disturbing introduction cutscene really plays with our emotions, starting off with what seems to be a generic bank job, turns into this discontorted and almost horror-like cutscene showing Aiden losing his niece. Fast forward 11 months later, and we see Aiden interrogating a man called Maurice, the man who was hired to kill Aiden, who ended up killing his niece. But before I go any further, I just want to say how this opening cutscene really shows us why Watch Dogs 1 is so different to any other game Ubisoft have made. When you think about other protagonists from Ubisoft games, Ezio, Jason, and you think about their opening cutscenes, are the emotions of sadness, utter sadness and pain, really portrayed in those cutscenes? And I mean the opening cutscene, not a cutscene that happens 20 minutes into the game, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, the end. I mean the opening. This is the opening to Watch Dogs 1, and it really shows that at Aiden's core, he is a broken and depressed man. You see, an Aiden in Watch Dogs 1's main story is fueled on finding the man which he has found and the people behind Lena's death. He believes that if he can just find these people and kill them, that it will fix his broken life, and it will fix this little girl who died so little ago. And this is why Aiden, at his core, is so broken. Because he is a man stuck, obsessed with the past and thinking he is living in it. He has become so obsessed with finding the people who killed his niece that he has become a killer himself. It's heavily implied that before the events of Watch Dogs 1, Aiden was making a living through hacking. But you notice there how I only say hacking and not shooting people. You see, it's heavily implied that Aiden was just a hacker who worked for other people, worked with other people, or worked against other people to get money. The job was safe, the job was easy, and no one was getting killed. Whereas now, Aiden is actively killing and even sometimes torturing people to find out what he wants. But he is a killer who somewhat hates who he is and somewhat loves who he is. Aiden does have a screwed moral code, and as much as I hate using this stupid phrase, Watch Dogs is a GTA clone, but Aiden is not a GTA protagonist. And what I mean by that is you're not going to go up and down the streets mowing down police officers and people because you feel like it, because you almost feel weird doing that as Aiden. And not just because there's a pop-up in the corner that says, don't do that, that's bad. But because Aiden is who he is, he doesn't kill police, and he doesn't kill civilians. In fact, he wants no harm on civilians, and he actively does try to help people who are in a dire situation. But yet, if anyone steps across his family, steps into somewhere unknown, Aiden will kill you without a second thought. In fact, the only thing this broken man really cares about is his sister and his nephew. But the city of Chicago only knows him as the Vigilante. A man who stops crime when he can, but will use any method he seems appropriate. Aiden falling into this pit of this vigilanteism and this pain he is in has naturally come across some very charismatic people. One such is a man named Geordie. Geordie is known as a fixer. Fixers are basically hackers that take on contracts for pretty much anything, good or bad. Killing, not killing, smuggling, not smuggling, you get the idea. Aiden pays Geordie to do some jobs with him, do some jobs for him, and hold captive Maurice, the man Aiden believes pulled the trigger or crashed into the car that killed his niece. Now, I wanted to talk about Geordie because I think this shows who Aiden has truly become. A man who hangs around with someone as unhinged as, well, Geordie.
We need a distraction. I called the cops.
You did.
Oh, yeah, true story. So, cops arrive, and Maurice's little band of brothers arrive, and pow, 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 pow.
Jordy, tell me you're joking.
No, I called them too.
To put it simply, Geordie is someone who is very, very good at what they do, however disgusting or just overall weird what they do is, from killing people to torturing people to keeping people in their basement / garage, ? Geordie is a man who is very unfazed by death and overall very unfazed with anything you throw at him. At the end of the day, he is just a hired gun, but he's a hired gun who is willing to do anything, and I mean anything, to survive. Why am I telling you this? Well, Aiden doesn't really get on with Geordie. In fact, I'm not sure he really likes him. However, he does keep using him, and he uses him because he knows he's good. This means Aiden, as a person, only 11 months after his niece's death, has grown to work with killers and even pay them. After you complete the first mission, you go to your save point, aka a bed, and something very interesting happens. Aiden has a nightmare, or a reoccurring dream, we're unsure, and it doesn't happen again. However, it goes over the event in more detail, the event that killed his niece. I think what this implies is that these dreams happen more than just once. Obviously, every time you go to bed, they can't show your niece dying. However, I think it's quite sad to see that Aiden clearly suffers from some sleep depression. Not too far into the game, Aiden meets up with his sister Nikki and sees Jax, her daughter, who is his nephew. This scene is incredibly emotional to watch, and even more emotional to watch on a second playthrough. It's Jax's birthday, and you get the feeling that something is missing, but not just Nina, Aiden's niece, but more a part of Aiden himself. Aiden and Nikki have quite a long conversation where they bond for a while, and she tries to get through to Aiden to make sure that, well, obviously he is okay, but make sure that he's changed. After the accident, Nikki knows that Aiden went off the rails for a bit, but she thinks he's changed and calmed down a bit. However, it's clearly not true. Throughout this whole scene, Aiden is very off and just feels distant. You can tell he blames himself for what happens, and this is heartbreaking to watch. Jax is slowly, and I mean very slowly, through therapy and through the help of his lovely mother, is moving on from Lena's death, and Nikki is slowly moving on, trying to make things better. The two of them understand that Nikki's death is horrific and it shouldn't have happened, but there's nothing they can do now and they have to move on. Or at least find some way to get better at living, at life, at enjoying life. I think to me, this is what makes Watch Dogs 1 so special, and Aiden Pierce as a character so incredible. Nikki, the mother of this child who has passed away, who is gone, is trying her hardest to move on, but Aiden, her brother, who is stuck in this backwards motion, just can't move on, and it's so saddening to watch. And I think it's saddening to watch because we're just watching someone grieve. And sadly, this is the reality of this video, guys. This is the reality of Watch Dogs, is that Watch Dogs is a game about grief. And sure, the average grieving person doesn't go out and start killing people when someone dies, but it is the emotions we feel inside of us. Aiden, at his core, is broken because of his overwhelming feel of grief. And it just makes it such a powerful but incredibly hard watch. While Aiden is at Nikki's house, Nikki receives a very threatening prank phone call, which doesn't really seem like a prank as much as it seems like an outrageous threat. Aiden obviously hacks into the phone and hears this whole call in which he feels the need to track this person down. Further showing how stuck in the past Aiden is. He can't let anything get to his family. He can't let anything go. He has to pounce on it immediately. And I think this is very ironic. You see, Nikki hits the nail on the head with what she says. She tells Aiden that he only makes things worse, because in Aiden's eyes, helping his family, hunting down this prank phone caller, he's trying to protect them, he's trying to save them, he's trying to make their lives better, but in hunting down the man who killed his niece, he only puts his family at further risk, showing how broken of a man he is.
Do you think this is strong enough?
Look, did you know his voice?
Oh, Jesus, Aiden, just leave it. It's fine.
It's fine. He thinks he can get inside.
How do you know what he thinks?
You're checking the locks.
Look, I can handle this on my own. We do not need your help.
Nikki, I can find this guy.
Okay, look, Aiden, God, you have not changed at all. We do not need your help. Please stop trying to fix our problems. Every time you try, you just make things worse.
Better go.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
You see, a little while back in the story, a man called Damien Brinks, an incredibly written character and one of my favourite villains in gaming, approaches Aiden. Damien is Aiden's old partner, the one where everything went wrong on the Merlet job, and he tells Aiden that they're going to work together. Aiden, having no reason to work with someone he deems completely dangerous and completely just out of their mind, says no, obviously. Damien did not like this answer, so he paid someone to make a phone call so that whilst Aiden was out trying to catch this person, he could take Nikki and Jax. Aiden, with a fit of rage, runs back to the house trying to find out where his sister has been taken to, but Damien says that he's under his leash now. Aiden does save Jax from Damien, however, being so back-minded, doesn't realise that he's caused this problem and begins to work for Damien, desperate to get his sister back. By the half point of the game, Aiden Pierce has become a desperate man to get his sister back and is trying everything he can. However, this obviously means it leads him down quite a dirty and dark rabbit hole of crime and illegal business. One such being a sex trafficking business, which is very disturbing. Aiden frees some of these poor women who have been subjected to this, and he does do good things here. Aiden does try to balance out this moral code by helping as many people as he can on the way, but this is one thing Watch Dogs 1 does extremely well. Showing these very disturbing and horrifyingly realistic scenarios in a video game is not an easy thing to do, but Watch Dogs does it very maturely and very well. There's this whole section in the game about the trafficking, and it's done very maturely. It brings a lot of light to the situation, and I think it's something Ubisoft should always be remembered for doing. Not only this, but Aiden also works for a man called Lucky Quinn a couple times, a corrupt, disgusting man who runs the Merlet, which is the place that sells these poor women. Now, Aiden Pierce is doing a lot of good, but in order to follow Damien's orders, he also has to do a lot of bad. Damien's end goal is to get revenge on the people who hurt him, so he's trying to get data, and in getting this data, he's trying to get it off of a man called Iraq. Now, of course, he's not doing this, Aiden is doing this. And how Aiden chooses to go about this is quite actually dark. A 19-year-old, barely man, child thing, called Bedbug, as his street name, is working with this guy called Iraq. He is extremely scared, extremely unfortunate, and Aiden uses this to his advantage. He blackmails this guy called Bedbug to do everything he wants, threatening him, and Bedbug nearly dies doing it. It's here we first really see Aiden questioning who he is as a person and what he's become. He really questions whether it was all worth risking this child's life, this boy's life, this young man's life, just for some data. At one point in the middle half point of the game, Jackson is actually kidnapped by fixers, and Aiden, in a fit of anger, rage, and almost sadness, kills all of them to get to Jackson, and it turns out Jackson was watching this on security cameras. When Aiden tries to get Jackson out of this locked room, Jackson is terrified of him, and this is where Aiden really looks at himself in the mirror and says, is it all worth it? Aiden has gone down this terribly terrifying rabbit hole of sadness, chaos, and destruction for what? Aiden has become a killer for what? And the very people he wanted the best for, people like Jackson and his sister, are now scared of him. You see, all throughout this video, there is one person I haven't spoke about. I've spoke about Aiden's sister and their relationship. I've spoke about Deacon and Aiden's relationship with him. I've spoke about Geordie and their relationship. But what about Aiden's relationship with a certain woman named Clara, or otherwise known as Bad Boy 17? Now, Clara, aka Bad Boy 17,
Bad boy.
What?
Bad boy. 17.
but it had just turned out that this woman, Clara, who Aiden had been so close to, actually had a lot to do with his niece's death. So in the last portion of the game, Aiden's whole vigilante identity has actually been revealed by Damien. Clara has now turned out to be someone linked to his niece's death, and Aiden is in an overall worse mental state than he ever has been. But Aiden does find his sister with the help of this old myth named T-Bone. T-Bone is someone who worked at DedSec and is an extremely talented hacker, but it's Aiden's turn to get his sister out of this abandoned warehouse. But in getting her out of the warehouse, directing her out of a near unsurvivable situation, he would direct her to kill someone, and he himself would kill in front of her. It's here Nikki would find out who Aiden truly is, and she would find out that Aiden is the vigilante she's heard about on the news. And Nikki would see Aiden for the true man he is, a killer, someone who kills. Now, whether they kill for a good reason or a bad reason, Aiden still kills. Aiden informs her to take Jax and get out of the city, and that's exactly what they do. Before Aiden goes to get them out of the city, he monologues for a while, talking about how he always tried to keep Nikki away from his crime life, from his life of killing and from his life of who he's become. But now, Nikki has not only seen what he's become, but she herself has taken a life, indirectly because of Aiden. But it's also at this time, Aiden finds out that Lucky Quinn was the one to put a hit on his niece, so he'll be coming for revenge very soon. Aiden takes his sister outside of the city, and she talks about how all she knew on the way there was Chicago, and this was her home. The car would stop, and Aiden would get out to speak to Nikki, his sister, in which Nikki would tell a story about a young girl who would follow her brother around, her brother who didn't really want her involved in what he did, and his friends, and his things. But at the same time, this sister didn't really care for his friends, or his hobbies, or even like his friends or his hobbies or the things he liked, but she did idolize him.
Remember when we were kids? And I would follow you, and you'd try and get away from me, and stupid me, I kept trying. I didn't like your cars or hockey, and your friends were gross.
Yeah.
I followed you because I idolized you. Like Jackson does. And I kept hoping that you want me around, but eventually I just hoped that you would look back.
Aiden slowly walks to the back of the car and says goodbye to Jackson. Someone who looked up to him himself. Someone who idolized him himself, but now has been exposed to the true, depressing side of who Aiden really is. Now is to say goodbye to him. And when I say this cutscene is emotionally draining, I really mean it. I really mean this cutscene means something to me when I view it, when I look at it, when I really dive into it. It means something to me, and that's something I can say very few about other games. This cutscene in any other Ubisoft game would be a good thing. Aiden's got his sister back, hooray, Damien's not as big of a threat anymore, hooray, Aiden can go after Lucky Quinn, hooray. But it's not about that. It's not about any of that, because Watch Dogs is so much more mature than that. It's about the depressing reality that Aiden is now completely isolated and alone. Think about it. Clara, someone he trusted, had been turning out to work against him at the beginning. I mean, she wasn't working against him when she was with him, but she had been working against him and knew about his niece's death. Damien has been against him from the whole game. Lucky Quinn had his niece killed. And now, the only people he cares about, the only family he has, Jackson, his nephew, and Nikki, his niece, are leaving. It is truly saddening to see Aiden's family get pushed out of their home, and the main reason because of this is Aiden. Aiden goes after Lucky Quinn, but before he does go into the building, he gets a phone call from Clara, in which she says she's so sorry and she's going to go fix everything. But this doesn't matter to Aiden, because he's going to take revenge on the one man he's been chasing for so long. After a very long and good level, you actually get to Lucky Quinn, and Aiden does kill him. And this is the bit where Aiden should feel lost and, like nothing happens. But in a very realistic game like Watch Dogs is, Aiden has the complete opposite reaction. Aiden admits that he feels alive after murdering this old man, and sure, it's not murdering, but he admits he feels alive after he's taken revenge, after he's chased this shadow for so long. He feels like he can live. And it's at this point in Watch Dogs when Aiden accepts the vigilante stereotype that the city has put on him. He accepts that killing Lucky Quinn had to happen, and he accepts that he is the vigilante of Chicago.
Any deal you want?
You have to help me. Something's happened. I don't know what to do.
Just say it.
I know I have proof.
Quinn's dead. This is the part where I'm supposed to say I feel empty, right? I'd be lying to myself. I finally feel awake. Like I can breathe again. And Lena? Nothing can change her death. But maybe I can still do something that'll make a difference.
After killing Lucky Quinn, Aiden finds out that fixers are after Clara, and Clara is at his niece's grave. Aiden tries his best to get there in as quick as time as possible when he sees she is laying flowers at his niece's grave. He tries to save her, but she is shot. Aiden walks over to Clara's lifeless body, someone who caused him so much pain in his life and also so much happiness is there beneath his feet, dead. She left him a voice message telling him that she knew that someone would die, someone being either Aiden or his niece that day, but she took the job anyway. She says she worked with Aiden afterwards because she thought she could make it right. She thought she could make it better. And that's the ironic thing. Both her and Aiden think that chasing ghosts will make things better after a little girl's death. Aiden thinks that if he can kill the person who kills his niece, his life will be complete, but it won't. And Clara thought that if she could just help Aiden out, it would make what she did better, or not as bad. But it didn't. Both these characters are somewhat the same, and that's what makes Aiden so grounded and realistic. Aiden blames himself for the death of Clara, because he feels that if he had not led her on to feel so bad, she would not have died. But she would. Through some chain of events and the help of T-Bone, Aiden finally confronts Damien on a lighthouse, where it turns out Geordie betrays him and joins Damien. Something really actually quite interesting here that I'm not sure a lot of you will know about is if you fail the quick time events to kill Damien and toss Geordie off of the lighthouse, you'll actually get two alternate endings, one where just Damien kills you, but another where you see Geordie's real intent in joining Damien isn't to actually side with him. Like all of the incredible characters in Watch Dogs 1, Geordie is no different. He is written incredibly well, and I think it speaks volumes when he not only kills Aiden, but then also kills Damien. It's clear that Geordie is just trying to cover his path, and he sees that Aiden is a massive threat, and he sees that Damien is also a massive threat, taking this opportunity to kill two birds with one stone. Of course that doesn't happen though, and Aiden wins the final battle. By the end of Watch Dogs 1, Aiden has lost his best friend, his worst enemy, drawn his family to leave him, and lost a part of himself. Aiden has one last monologue talking about how he's changed, how by trying to find the people or man who killed his niece only made him discover more and more tragedies, and he says now he wants to always look forward and protect the city, protect the people, becoming the vigilante the city sees him as. Aiden truly has changed, but there's still one more thing, one more loose end to tie up, and that loose end is Maurice. Maurice is the man who killed Aiden's niece. He is the one who put her under the ground. He is the one who caused the pain. You see, all throughout the events of Watch Dogs 1, Maurice has actually been kept in Geordie's garage, and now Aiden is going back to that garage to see what he will do for the last time. All throughout Watch Dogs 1, we get small nuggets of Aiden speaking to Maurice, torturing him, telling him what he's going to do to him, and now Aiden gets to decide what he does to the man who hurt his niece. I absolutely love that this game has two endings because it doesn't overall change how Aiden's story goes or, you know, the overall ending. It doesn't make a huge difference. It just makes a difference who you want Aiden to be. In my opinion, if you kill Maurice, this is the worst thing to do. Aiden has fully become the darker vigilante, becoming more dark and broody, more uncaring and ruthless, and is truly changed as a person, but changed for the worse, changed into a killer, changed into a hypocrite, and changed into someone who does not forgive. If you let Maurice go, a man who himself has been played, you are showing and telling us that Aiden has changed, but for the better. He has learnt to forgive, he has learnt to forget. He has learnt to look forward, and he has learnt to move forward. He will still become the vigilante, but one who has rules. One who has rules that he follows to a T, and one with rules that are good for the city. And that is the best ending for Aiden Pierce. Thank you guys ever so much for sitting through this rather long video. I didn't know it would be this long, but I kind of got into it a little bit too much. I absolutely love Watch Dogs 1. I could talk about any character from Watch Dogs 1 for hours. There is so much more I could say about Aiden. Watch Dogs 1 is in my top 20 games, absolutely. I love the game, I love the story. It is an incredible, incredible game. You know, it's very touching when you look at it like the way I have, when you look at the characters like I have. They're so well written. They're so well done, and yeah. Anyway guys, thank you so much for your support. If you've made it to the end of the video, come on, you must have liked the video, so leave me a like, leave me a subscribe. 94% of you aren't subscribed. That's a big number, boys. Or girls, I don't mind. Please subscribe. Thank you guys ever so much for watching. I'll have more content like this in the future. You guys are the best. High fives all round. I'm not Jacksepticeye, alright? You guys stay safe. I'll see you in a bit. Peace.